All right, hello and welcome to Political Voice. I'm Moses. Now, it was a different sit at home in Enugu yesterday as protesters marched out to challenge the order by a faction of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Now, the state government sealed businesses that complied with the order. And in keeping with the warning given by Governor Peter Mba last week, the government had banned, the government had banned the Monday Sit at Home directive declared by a faction of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, which had vowed to continue to protest the incarceration of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu by the Nigerian government, despite various court judgments ordering his release. Now, several businesses are now under lock and key for, in and around the Enugu metropolis for failing to open on Monday. Well, I have with me an author and a political affairs commentator, Tochukwu Ezokama. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Now, when Peter Mba of Enugu State, that's the governor of Enugu State, came into office, he did stated categorically that the sit at home would end. Now, it has taken, a few days in office, a few months in office, for us to see this joint effort. Now, CSOs are coming to join the campaign to end the sit at home. But you know that prior to this time, other times our government have said, come out, don't sit at home, come out and do your businesses. Those that attempted to come out were met with guns, bullets. Some people were killed. We saw videos of some men in black and red aprons, red capes, going around shooting and threatening people. Now, when you saw the CSOs troop out yesterday, which was a Monday, to lend their voice to the clamor to end the sit at home, how did it make you feel?
Well, that's what should have been done much earlier. I don't know why they waited this long to kind of wake up from their slumber. A non-government actors, a band of thugs, a band of criminals cannot impose their will on a state. And when they succeed in doing that, then something is fundamentally wrong in that state. The government can stop the enforcement of sit-at-homes. It's all about leadership. A leader can do it. But when a leader says you don't sit at home, go to open to your businesses, go to school, and do not provide the necessary security for the citizens, then I think that is irresponsible. I think that is criminal. So the thing is to say, go out there and do your work. Ignore the sit-at-home order, but then you need to provide security. You have to provide an enabling environment for people to be able to do that. And I think that is what is beginning to happen. Governors are powerful and can get their jobs done if they choose to, if they choose to muster the political will. And that's what the governor of Enugu is beginning to demonstrate. We can put an end to this. We have the capability to put an end to it if we choose to.
All right, now it's good to see you, but let's look back.
Yes.
It's been, by the 9th of August this year will make it 2 years since the commencement of sit at home. Sit at home basically started on August 9, 2021. Started from, okay, let's sit at home for 1 week, let's sit at home for 2 weeks, let's sit at home whenever Nnamdi Kanu is taken to court. And then another faction now took it up and it became a regular thing, sit at home. And this has affected businesses. Now, record has it that about 7.6 trillion naira has been lost.
Of course.
In production, production-wise, has been lost. Do you think the Southeast, and Enugu State in particular, will recover from this massive loss?
Technically, yes, we'll recover. It might take a long while to recover from it, but then it's still a monumental blow. Already there's so much poverty, there's so much deprivation, and then for IPOB to add to loss of businesses, loss of money in a situation that was already desperate, that's very regrettable, that's very lamentable. But in theory, yes, it will be recovered. We are going to recover. But even if we recover, it does not take away from the problems that exist in Igbo land.
Which are?
Who is Nnamdi Kanu to start with? And he's going to court, and his men imposes a sit at home in a state, and people comply. Something is wrong. What of the?
No, but people complying. Were they not coerced into complying?
Yeah, when a band of thugs, when a band of criminals, a band of non-entities, a band of never-do-well will coerce the citizens of a state right in the nose, in the eyes of the governor and all the government apparatus, something is wrong. A governor is powerful. A governor controls the bureaucracy. He controls, by extension, indirectly, the security in the state. He controls the universities. The judiciary appoints the judges, the judiciary, so that a band of nobodies will from nowhere literally defy you, and there's nothing you can do. It dramatizes I don't want to call it impotence, but dramatizes the weakness, the lack of political will, the problems in Igbo land.
All right, now, should we now say this was complicity on the part of the former governor of Enugu State?
Yes, partially, but the Igbo man has deeper problems. The problems of the Igbo man are psychological, sentimental, they are emotional. The Igbo man has this lingering baggage, this lingering grip of psychological grip. We have a number of problems. They all emanate from Biafra and Biafranism. Like I've said time and time again, that since Chukwuemeka Odimegwu Ojukwu introduced that idea of Biafra to the Igbo man has not
But that
had
was a
peace.
long time ago.
Yeah, but it's a long time ago. But the beliefs are sometimes entrenched.
Okay, now
and
we're looking
entrenched
at...
beliefs can remain entrenched from one generation to the other and to the other and to the other. I say, people still die for what they believe in, and some of those beliefs are not original to them. They were impacted from parents to parents, and so on and so forth. So it was a long time ago, but the lingering grip of the falsehood of Biafranism on Igbo man's mind is not allowing him to think right.
You say it's a falsehood.
Yes, Biafranism was founded in falsehood.
Explain that, please.
Yes, there was a lot of propaganda in Biafra. Many of us were sold on this propaganda. But if you study the history of Nigeria, see what happened. Biafra was based on the fact, one, that there was a design, there was a plot by other Nigerians to exterminate the Igbos. Is that a fact? It's not a fact. Nobody wanted to exterminate anybody. Nigeria has been a country defined by the coexistence by the coexistence, rivalry of three ethnic groups. The thing is, they struggle for power and for resources. No one wants to exterminate each other. It's all about struggle for power. And the struggle for power is inherent in human lives. To deal with my father, I had to struggle for power. Because your father will say 7 p.m. If I don't see you here at 7 p.m., I'll break your head. You foolish little naughty boy. But your friends are out there dancing, having fun at 7 p.m. So you defy your father. It's power struggle. no matter how benign, no matter how subtle, there's power struggle between husband and wife, no matter how benign, how subtle, between siblings. So there has to be power struggle between the ethnic groups of Nigeria. And that's what has been the problem. Not that any group of people ganged up to exterminate another ethnic group. So is that not falsehood? When you tell a people you have to fight or you'll be wiped out. If you lose in this war, there's a plan already set to wipe you out. That was falsehood. And there are so many of such falsehood. Gowon did not implement the Aburi Accord. Gowon did. There were saboteurs in Biafra. We were winning the wars. The saboteurs subverting our effort. That was falsehood, and so many of them. So Biafranism was founded in falsehood. Okay? Every attempt at secession elicited a war. Why did you expect your own secession to elicit an applause from the federal government? Propaganda. Okay? Manipulation of people's mindset. In every war, people die from starvation. In the First World War, 750,000 Germans died from starvation. In the Second World War, millions of people died from starvation. You look at TV footages of the events in Yemen, Syria, Ethiopia, where there are wars, you see people dying of starvation. So why did you expect your enemies in your own war to feed you? And because they did not feed you, it was an act of genocide. So the whole thing was falsehood. Yeah, I can go on and on and on, but let me stop it here. That's why I say it was founded in falsehood.
All right, now let's bring you back to
Yes.
your thoughts now on the IPOB, the IPOB violating the governor's order. What are your thoughts? When the governor said the sit at home ends and the people attempted to come out, and IPOB, the section of IPOB came out and made to violate that order, how did that make you feel?
Well, IPOB started by, the operations in Nigeria started by violating the orders of the powers that be. That was why in the Python dance, the Igbo governors were in collusion with the federal government in the Python dance. Because Nnamdi kind of became a handful. They couldn't manage him anymore. So it's been a repeated defiance of the powers that be in Igbo land, you know. And they had the sympathy of the people because the people are emotionally attached to Biafra. So anything that says, oh, Nigeria is a bad place for the Igbos are being mistreated, the Igbos are hated, it resonates with the Igbo man because that's what has been embedded in his mind. So when Nnamdi Kanu came and said, I am your new savior, I am the Moses of Igbo land, I am the man that will bring you out of slavery in Egypt into your promised land, the Igbos found it very interesting. And with that support among the masses, among the grassroots, it was a very hard issue for the governors to handle. But the governors have always been wary of Nnamdi Kanu and his group, but couldn't contain them because of their mass appeal. So a governor looks at, they say that statesmen think about future generation. Governors look at polls, election polls, who will vote for me, who will not vote for me. So a man that has this grip on the minds of the majority of the people was a very difficult man to deal with because you're pandering repeatedly to the votes of the people.
Now, in line of the mass appeal and the support for the end to the sit at home that we are seeing now, can we say this is the people's will prevailing, or can we say it is the governor's order yielding results?
I think it's a combination of the two. People were really ecstatic initially. When IPOB started, on the day what do they call him? Onyendu, yes, on the day our leader is going to court, you sit at home. But then I think it all spiraled out of control. The violence was too much. Young people were killed for no reason. People's businesses set on fire for no reason.
So do you think that that is what has affected the initial support that IPOB had from the people?
I think criminal elements became involved. IPOB
Yeah.
is now saying we are not the ones enforcing this at home, and a renegade group or some criminal elements that are cashing in on it are still enforcing it. So one, people became tired of it because one is emotionalism, another thing is reality. Hunger will teach you some real, will teach you some sense. Yeah, hunger will teach you a number of things. So the problem initially, some did not mind, some think maybe it will be for a while, but it became protracted, and I think they became too violent in the enforcement of sit at home. And IPOB is saying we are not a party to this. So people's sentiments turn against the sit at home. So with the governor now acting like a governor, taking charge, trying to put an end to it, and with people's sentiments turning against it, I think it will end very soon, hopefully. It won't continue.
Now, but let's look at something now. When the governor insisted that the sit-at-home must end, people must come out. I don't know if you saw it. I saw a few videos that came out then. Some people tried coming out. Some Okada riders, some tricycle operators came out, and some of them were shot at. And in the video, the particular video, I don't know if we can get that video up now, but if we can't, it's not a problem. In a particular video, a voice behind the camera was saying, "Burn the keke, burn the shops, burn, destroy this, destroy that." Now, the government, in its bid to compel the people to come out, insisted that shops that don't open will be under lock and key. Schools that don't open will be sanctioned. Now, isn't that putting the people in a hard place? Because some of them, the reason some of them were not coming out, the reason they were obeying the sit at home was out of fear.
Of course,
that
naturally.
if they came out, they will be killed. And here is the government in power insisting that, look, you will not do your business even after a Monday if you don't come out on a Monday.
Yeah, one thing I've always said, just like children subliminally behave like their parents, the masses, without knowing it, behave like their leaders. If you listen to Nnamdi Kalu's videos, he says things like, the lockdown, because it was one that started lockdown even before he went to jail, IPOB was enforcing lockdowns in one form or the other. And he said things like, the lockdown is utter and complete. Nobody comes out. Nobody opens his store. I know my people, that's Nnamdi, I'm quoting Nnamdi Kanu. I know my people, they are stupid. They will want to come out. If anybody comes out, burn him and burn him inside that his store. So the video you saw and a voice was saying, kill him, burn the Okada, it was in line with the real Nnamdi Kanu. That was his style all along. Then when the government says you must come out, if you don't come out, we seal your stores. It is wonderful. But then the Americans would say, talk is cheap. If you provide the enabling environment for people to come out and then they refuse to come out, then you can punish them. And what is the enabling environment? Security. So if you bring security men out on the street, the police are parading, they are in important places, they are guiding the people, they are ready to take on IPOB, ESN, and whatever other group of men that want to impose the sit at home. The security men are willing to deal with them. And people refuse to come out, then you can punish them. But if you don't secure them and say, come out, then that becomes insensitive, that becomes callous, that becomes irresponsible, that becomes criminal, because nobody will willingly, we are not suicide. Some soldiers are trained to go on suicide missions. That's what they are trained for. But the average man is not trained for that. The average man needs security to be able to operate. So insisting on people coming out, that's wonderful. But have you laid the foundations? Have you made it possible? Can you secure them when they come out?
Now we'll talk about the foundations to be laid. But let's stretch this a little bit further. Now, government saying, look, if you come out, don't sit at home, and if you don't come out, unlock your shops. Isn't that a little bit contradictory? Because what you intend to achieve is to make the people go to their place of business. If you now say, okay, because you don't come out on a Monday, I will lock your shop, that means they will not even be able to go to their place of business after the Mondays have gone by.
Yeah, and in subsequent Mondays.
And on subsequent Mondays as well.
Because
isn't that contradictory?
There's some inherent paradox in life. Certain things are contradictory like that. But then I think the objective is to force people to go out. If you don't go out, you lose your source of livelihood. That's a big threat, you know. So you're trying to compel people to go out. And if you come out, we don't seal your business. If you don't come out, we seal your business. Yeah, that's fine. And that will compel some people to go out. But there are two sides. It takes two to tango. It takes government effort. It takes government instructions or government order on one side, and then people's compliance on the other side. But there are responsibilities on both sides. If the governors uphold their obligations and meet their responsibilities, then people normally go out to do their businesses. Very few individuals will not go to do their business, even if the enabling environment is there. Very few, if any.
Well, in a bid to encourage people to come out, don't you think if people see that these black clothes wearing, red apron wearing, gun wielding people are apprehended, if they see that they are caught, they are prosecuted, they are arrested, they see the confrontation between the military or the police and these people, do you think that will be a better boost?
Oh yeah, of course, that would be a serious morale boost. So so the thing is
as against come out or I lock your shop.
Yes. So the thing is about impression, perception. So if the government can go after these individuals, even in their hideouts, attack them, capture them, arrest them, and the governments in Nigeria into taking to court and prosecuting. The Nigerian mobs are into instant jungle justice. So you let some be handled by the Nigerian mob, and you let some be handled the government official way. And people see these things, then it will reinforce their faith in what the government is doing to put an end to the sit at home. That will help a lot. And the government can do it. The government can track them to. You see, Igbo land, as the population density in Igbo land is very high. I hear people who were kidnapped in Yoruba land and say they took us 20 kilometers into the forest. In Igbo land, there's no way you go 20 kilometers and not meet communities. Nobody takes you 20 kilometers into any forest. We don't have that kind of land. So guerrilla warfare and this semi-insurgency of IPOB and whatever group is very hard in Igbo land. The government can track them down. The government can deal with them. It's all about the resolve on the part of the government, the political will on the part of the government, and the determination on their part. Once they resolve to do it, yes, they can do it.
So it takes the resolve on the part of the government.
Simple. It starts with the government and it ends with the government, period.
Now, this clamor has been for the release of an individual, one who has commanded respect. Whichever way you look at it, he has been able to command some sort of respect, and has attracted emotions to himself and all of that. But why do you think it's taken the government of Nigeria, what seems like for forever, to treat the case properly and release him if need be?
Nnamdi Kanu, the Buhari administration made Nnamdi Kanu. Before Buhari came to power, I've never heard of Nnamdi Kanu. I used to hear of the man of Masop, Wazirike. And I met Wazirike one time, long ago, you see, about falsehood. The Biafran, what do they call that organization? Biafran, I've forgotten the name of the organization. They rented a room.
Nasob?
No. We were under before Wazirike's time. The Biafran, some organization, Biafran something in the US, they rented a room this big, this big, in a 12-story building. And one day they tied a tape around the 12-story building, invited Ojukwu, long ago he was still alive, and then Wazirike to come open the Biafran house. So they took picture of a 12-story building very close to the White House and said the Biafran something owns a 12-story building. And my cousin in the village was so excited that this Biafran movement is getting momentum. Do you know we have a 12-story building just next to the White House? I said, what fool now? The propaganda boggles the mind. Just a room in the 12-story building. So
Were you there?
Of course. Then I was in the US, yes.
Okay.
So that was where I met Wazirike for the first time. And Wazirike said, I was watching him very closely, listening to him very attentively because I wanted to assess him. These are our new Moses that will lead us to the promised land. What kind of a man is he? What does he really have in stock? What really gets him ticking? So I paid very close attention to him. And he said, when I started talking about Biafra, I did not know what I was doing. But the thing is that democracy allows me the right to express myself. So I started expressing myself. And people started listening to me, and I continued. He didn't know what he was doing. He was a failed lawyer who had nothing else to do with himself. So he decided to talk about Biafra. And surprisingly, it resonated among the Igbos. So he continued. So Biafra, this, I call it Neo-Biafranism, the new form of Biafra, was based on this foundation of not knowing what you are doing. But since it's found in resonance, it's making us relevant, it's giving us money, let's continue. Nnamdi Kanu was a nobody, a non-entity who all he did was manage Wazirike's...
Some people will disagree with you.
That's the thrill of life. We can't all think the same way. We can't all hold the same opinion. So that disagreement is the thrill of it. That's what I like about it. So was managing Wazirike's radio station in London and broke off from Wazirike. But I never for once had the name Nnamdi Kanu until the Buhari administration, I think, started jamming their radio station, trying not to let the information from the radio station go up into Nigeria. That was the first time I heard of Nnamdi Kanu and a new pro-Biafran group, a new Neo-Biafran movement called IPOB. And then when he came to Nigeria, he got arrested. That didn't make much news. What made news was that he was released, or at least on bail, I think, and the federal government refused to release him. That was where the uproar came. And overnight, the man became a superstar. So when he came out from prison under the bail, Igbo politicians brought him out from jail because they wanted to use him because of his mass appeal. That was when he realized how important he had become. So he jettisons the governors, shoved them to the side because he felt, I am a more important person than you governors. He kicked everybody to the side, became the law unto himself. Many Igbos are Biafrans at heart. The question is, how do we get it? Some are feeling we need a country of our own, but let's not worry about it because of what it will take. Some are saying, let's go this way, let's go that way, let's go that way. So many of them came around. Very elderly men. I talked to a man who is in his 90s. He said he went to see Nnamdi Kanu. That fundamentally what you're doing is not wrong. It's a question of approach. That this man was so arrogant, so disdainful, that he left that place very surprised and very disappointed. So it became a problem for the Igbo elite too. That was why there was the Python dance and all that followed it. So there's a void in Igbo man's life, emotional void, psychological void that needs to be filled. And anybody who gives any inkling, I am here to fill that void, the Igbo man will follow him. So it takes Igbo leadership to change the mindset of the Igbo man. But as long as that mindset is contingent on the nonsense we were fed in Biafra, we will be following anybody that comes around and says, I am bringing you Biafra.
When you say it takes the Igbo leadership, what exactly do you mean? Leadership in terms of elected officers, or leadership in terms of the Igwes and those traditional rulers?
Okay.
How do you mean?
Nnamdi Kanu is not elected, and is not a traditional leader, but a traditional ruler, but he's a leader. So a leader does not have to be someone who holds a political office. A leader does not have to be someone who is the general manager of the central bank or governor of the central bank. But leaders have certain qualities. A leader should move people from point A to point 1. A leader represents a current in history. And what does a current do? A current moves people effortlessly from one point to the other. Leaders have certain qualities. They have this magnetism that get people towards them. And leaders appeal to people. It's not about talking, it's about emotional connection. Leaders are the Azikiwes of those days had emotional connection with their people, their Wolowos, okay? Juku had it. But since then, we've hardly had any Igbo man. Nnamdi Kanu has it, but for the wrong reasons. So that man that will connect the Igbos emotionally, tap into the Igbo man's sentiment and get him moving in a certain direction, that is for the benefit of the Igbo man. It doesn't have to be a governor. Some governors can do it, but some traditional leaders, but you don't have to be, Yes. But it takes leadership. Nothing happens without leadership. A certain writer said that the history of nations are the biographies of leaders. So when you're writing about a nation, you're writing about leaders that did this and did that, okay? General de Gaulle said that nothing great can be done without great leaders. It starts with leadership, it ends with leadership.
All right then. Now, as we make to wrap up this part of the show, I'm going to ask you this question. I know it's been in the hearts of a lot of people.
Yes.
And on the lips of some that dare say it. Do you think the unrest in the Southeast is influenced by parties outside the Southeast?
There's a Yoruba saying, I'm not getting it right, but it says that the worst sickness that can afflict a people is bad leadership. Okay? So when somebody is sick with malaria, for example, there are symptoms that we know that are associated with malaria. There might be other symptoms, not always associated with malaria, but that can come to plague the malaria patient. So the Igbo man's problem is that of leadership. And because the leaders have bungled up the system for so long, that's why you have people like Owazurike that thrived so well, talking Biafra. That's why people like Nnamdi Kanu can come up and defy Igbo leadership and get the masses acting against the dictates of the Igbo leadership. In such a situation where you have bad leadership, you have no consensus, no cohesion, you provide the enabling environment for other crazy things to thrive. So it's possible that the forces influencing the chaos in Igbo land is from outside, okay? But if you get the house in order, such forces cannot thrive in Igbo land. So we can speculate. I don't know, it's possible. But the problem begins with us. We must take responsibilities for our actions and solve our problems, and every other thing will be taken care of.
All right, thank you very much. Now, we do have another topic which we'll be visiting in a matter of seconds, actually. Second topic for Political Voice today is on the Trade Union Congress, rejecting the federal government's palliative initiative on subsidy removal. Now, here is the story. Now, the Trade Union Congress has described as empty policy laced with lies the federal government's directive to state governors to draw plans on the palliative to mitigate the impact of the recent petrol price increase. TUC President Festus Osifo, at a press briefing in Abuja, said the Congress did not trust the process. Now, in the course of the program, we'll look at reasons why the TUC President Festus Osifo would make that statement that the Congress does not trust the process. Now, we are looking at a situation whereby government has asked, TUC and NLC to talk. We talk about palliative for the people. There is this argument that the bulk of it is channeled towards the civil servant. We are talking about increase in salaries. Now, these things affect civil servants.
Yes.
They don't affect the other population. And the civil servants will make up about maybe 5% or thereabouts of the population. Yes. So, where does this leave us, really, when we talk about palliative for the subsidy removal?
What of the 8,000 naira that was supposed to be distributed?
Well, that has been placed on hold. The 8,000 naira to be distributed to 12 million households. But that has been placed on hold. There's a review on it now. So there is a possibility that it might be increased. But even at that, if you want to go that way, 12 million households, does that really answer the question of how many of us are under poverty?
But how do they identify the 12 million households?
That's another question.
And so there were too many unanswered questions. So to start with, it won't lead to anywhere. So it will only fuel corruption and reach a number of pockets, be directed into the personal accounts of some government officials and their loyalists and cronies. Civil servants are very few, but history shows that palliatives have always failed in the past. And you want to channel it through...
Tell us about that history.
You live in Nigeria with me now. I mean, during the COVID-19 palliative, we had this food stored in storehouses. They were not given out, which was so when the attack on NSAC's demonstrators angered the masses went out looting, breaking down, fighting, and opened some of these warehouses that were filled of food, whereas the supposed recipients of the palliatives didn't get them. So that's part of the history. And why were they hoarding the palliatives? Maybe for political reasons. You want to give it to your supporters when it's time for election. You want to use it to buy votes during time for elections. So history tells us that palliatives do not work. In some countries of the world, if you punch the computer, punch in your social security number, it gives every information about you, where you live, the work you do, whether you are a law-abiding citizen or have been arrested 20 times by the police, and even if the police is looking for the person. But in Nigeria, we don't have such database. There's been attempts with the voters registration, the networks. The networks repeatedly will call you to their offices and you fill out these forms. The banks will talk about VIN, VBN, and all that, national identity card.
NIN.
But it seems that these things are not coordinated and they are not utilized properly because there's so much you can get done with them. So how do you identify the 12 million individuals? And if you're going through the civil servants, that will be very easy because the governors, the bureaucrats, the PAMSECs, the commissioners know the civil servants. But like you rightly pointed out, there are very few of them. And what do you do beyond that? So a lot of people will not get the palliatives. I think that what we should worry about is responsible pro-human economic policies, not palliatives. Because palliatives will not be continuous. You can't go feeding people for the next 5 years. But responsible economic policies can change the system around. There's been a lot of talk about raising the minimum wage, which to me is too cosmetic. It's not, they will not solve the problem. The last raise in minimum wage placed minimum wage at 30,000 naira a month, which many state governors could not pay.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay it, and now you're thinking of raising the minimum wage even higher. So a man who could not pay 30,000, what do you expect him to? You expect him to be able to pay more than 30,000? But even if you keep raising the minimum wage, the inflation that attends this raise of minimum wage eats up the minimum wage. So you just keep raising and raising and raising, and the standard of living won't be getting any higher. So we should go back to the drawing board, deal with the fundamentals, and get our economy working. The first time I tried to buy, what do they call it, BTA, Basic Traveling Allowance, it was 1 naira was $1.6. So a car sold in the US for $9,000. You can buy it in Nigeria for 6,000 naira. So if our economy gets back to that, and since our...
What year was this again?
1976. That was the first time I bought a BTA. Okay? And it continued like that till sometime up to Shagari's administration time. The onset of the Shagari's administration, it was 1 naira to $1. I once was asking my father for money as a student in the US. And the man said, young man, you have to leave me alone. I'm trying to buy myself a new car. My cars are old and they're not functioning right. I need 8,000 naira to buy a car. Okay. That was the way, that was how the purchasing power of the naira then, okay? So can we get our economy at that point? Then there won't be need for palliatives.
Can we get our economy back to that point? Because what is affecting our economy is not just about how leaders in Nigeria are running the economy. It goes beyond that. There is the influence from the world economy. All right. We also look at the influence from oil-producing nations because we are totally dependent on oil.
Yes.
These are other factors that are affecting our currency and our own economy. So, do you think we can actually get ourselves back to 1976?
I was reading about Saudi Arabia, another nation that her economy is dependent on oil. They were talking about how much they've invested, how well they are doing, okay? I was reading about Botswana, well, much smaller country. Our economy depends mostly on, I think, a little oil, but mostly on diamond, I think. They pay people to go to the university. Healthcare is free. Everything is functioning right.
In Botswana.
So, in Botswana. And since I was a teenager, I started hearing about diversifying the Nigerian economy, so it wouldn't be only dependent on oil. what had happened in those many years? Why have we not been able to diversify our economy? So it still goes back to human actions. It still goes back to government policies. It still goes back to leadership. So we can get our economy. The people of Malaysia in the 50s or 60s came to Nigeria to take palm fruits. That is to plant. We have so much palm kernel, palm. That's what they planted. Now they're exporting oil. But Nigeria is importing, that is oil, I mean palm oil. They're exporting palm oil. Nigeria is importing. So those that you give seedlings to start their palm oil industries, they have enough, they produce enough to consume and to export. But you that taught them, that gave them seedlings, you are importing. So it's still all doable. It's all by choice. It's all by design. It is possible if we get the right leadership.
All right, so basically it's on the table of leadership. Now let's look at what the leadership is actually proposing as it makes to reduce subsidy, reduce the sufferings of the people. Sufferings, of course, emanating from the removal of subsidy. There's a proposed 7.5% VAT on diesel. There is also privatization of medical centers and teaching hospitals. There is that proposal. You don't seem to be in the know of that one. Okay, now we've also, in the past few days, we heard about an increase in tuition fees of Unity schools, federal government schools, colleges, and all of that. Their school fees went from 45,000 naira to 100,000 naira. Now, we haven't even discussed what the worker will earn, because there was an 8-week period given by the government, given to TUC and LLC to go discuss and look at, okay, these are what we want to do to alleviate the sufferings of the people. Now, look at some of these things. And then also proposed increase in electricity tariff that has been suspended, but it might still come up. And if it does, that would make whatever money civil servants or Nigerians or government is giving to Nigerians, even if Nigerians are giving the 8,000 naira or maybe twice of it, it seems like it will not solve any problem here.
A one-time U.S. Secretary of State, I don't really remember its name, referred to Nigeria as the poorest oil-rich nation in the world. Look at the oxymoron. Oil-rich, but poor. Is that not, that's paradoxical. How can you be oil-rich and be poor? I was writing about my mother, and I called her, I was writing a book and a section was on my mother. I called her the impoverished princess. How can you be a princess and be impoverished? But it was the politics of the extended family then. So something is wrong in Nigeria. That was why you can be oil rich and also be poor. Okay? Mrs. Clinton, as Secretary of State to US, said that Nigeria is in its present state because the leaders of Nigeria over the years refused to make the hard choices. So it's by choice, okay? We were told that fuel subsidy has been removed. And in 1 month or after the removal of 12 subsidy, 12 fuel subsidy, Nigeria had saved 400 billion.
Supposedly.
Yeah, we are told.
Yes.
400 billion translates to 5 trillion. Close to 5 trillion, is 4.8 trillion a year, okay? So you'll be getting 4.8 trillion from removal of subsidies. And you are increasing school fees in government schools. You're increasing VAT, you're increasing tariffs, you're privatizing general hospital, specialist hospital. It's something not wrong with the system. It's something that you say, wow, this is strange. We paid subsidy. So the government was broke because of the money paid out to subsidy. Now you're saving money from subsidy, so your coffers will be bloated, okay? Then you should have more money to finance education, more money to even subsidize education, subsidize health and all that. But no, not only that you're not subsidizing, you're hiking the cost, privatizing them. So the question is, what is wrong with our leaders? Something is profoundly wrong with our leaders. And what is wrong is greed. You find that greed in the National Assembly, where Nigerian legislators are one of the highest paid in the world. But in a country that has the highest concentration of poverty in the world, again, the same paradox, oil-rich poverty, okay? The waste in governance, federal government, is just too much. So it's time we start asking our leaders questions. What is wrong? Something must be wrong, okay? That's the problem. It's all, our problems are man-made. Our problem is all about leadership. And it's high time Nigerians go out there, stand out in front of their leaders and tell them what they think about them. The system must change. A man comes to campaign, what do? They sing songs. I was watching Goodluck Jonathan's campaign to be president. He will be coming out to speak, and he was doing like this. What does that mean? Like a boxer in a pre-fight showmanship. That's the way boxers act before they get into the ring. And you're the president of a country of 200 million persons. And well, maybe that is to show vitality, because Obasanjo came to power as an old man. Yaradua was not old but sick. So was this showing vitality? Okay, my predecessors were old and weak and sick. So it is, and then for them, a politician to speak, he greets the president, the vice president, chairman of the party. By the time he finishes calling out those that are his acknowledging of, time is up, and the people are not asking questions. What do you have in stock for us? What are you going to do for us? You elect a senator, you don't see him anymore. 4 years later, he comes back. You can't ask him any question because he's loaded. He's loaded. He has money to throw about. You vote him again, you don't see him anymore. Why don't you start asking basic questions? How can you be paid so much money, considering there was a lady in Gambia who said, I resist this increase in the salary of legislators. My people are suffering. I cannot come here and be earning so much money against the backdrop of the poverty amongst the people I represent. No, I say no to this increase. When are we going to have similar politicians in Nigeria? With all the package, 70 billion is going to members of House to cushion the removal of subsidy.
For them.
LP members are not objecting. No political party member is objecting. The Igbo legislators, Yoruba legislators, Hausa legislators are not, everybody is fine with it, you know. So the greed, in the system, the irresponsibility of our leadership, their insensitivity and callousness is weighing this country down. I call it, the system encourages the inordinate wealth of a few privileged people and the economic strangulation of the masses. And until we keep standing up and keep asking questions, nothing will change.
All right, one of the questions that Nigerians are asking is that it is perceived that this government seems to lack consultation, when consulting the people involved when it wants to carry out
programs.
Yes.
That doesn't make it a bad government. People are looking for results. Get the job done.
So how do you meet the needs of people without consulting them?
The thing is that there are different approaches to leadership. Some leaders are, I was teasing you about Angela Merkel, who said, I am not a fashionista. But the Kennedys were fashionistas. They were show-off people. They were glamorous people. Ronald Reagan was his ebullience and his movie star magnetism that attracted him to the American electorate. So great leaders come in different forms. Margaret Thatcher was very dictatorial, and he justifies his dictatorship by saying consensus is lack of leadership. So when you go seeking other people's consensus, what do? You're not a leader, it's lack of leadership. So to her, it's dictatorship that is the right thing. Consensus is lack of leadership.
Is that what you say as well? Is that your stance?
No, it's not what I say. Well, the thing is that the good leaders come in different forms. So maybe to President Tinubu, consensus is lack of leadership. He's doing his own thing. General de Gaulle was, as president of France, didn't pay attention to trivial issues like food and housing. He said, I did not liberate France to worry about housing. He was occupied with grandiose vision.
You call it trivial?
No, he didn't. He said.
Okay, he called it trivial.
He said, I did not liberate France to come and worry about housing. So to him, those were trivial, pedestrian issues. He was interested in the place of France in history, the grandeur, the respect, the glory of France, not with whether he don't chop or he never chop. You know, he was way above that. So maybe in Tinubu's insensitivity, President Tinubu's insensitivity to the plight of the masses, who knows, he's concerned about the glory of Nigeria, our place in history.
So are you saying, are you admitting to the fact that the presidency, the president and the presidency has been insensitive to the plight of Nigeria?
Of course. How can you be getting more money from removal of subsidy and your hiking prices in areas not in the cost of gold, jewelry, or private jets that do not concern the common man? But you're talking about food prices are increasing. You're increasing prices in education. You're increasing VAT in necessary things. You listed a number of them, and most of them strike the common man directly. Of course, he's insensitive, yes, to the plight of the Nigerian masses. Yes.
All right, then let's get your final thoughts as we make to wrap up. You did say something about responsible economic policies. I would have loved, if time allows us, I would have loved you to just give out a few of those responsible economic policies that will boost the economy of Nigeria.
The problem with Nigeria is not lack of experts. It's not lack of knowledge, know-how. No, we have too many knowledgeable individuals. And what leaders do, because leaders have vision, the man on the street doesn't have vision, doesn't even think, doesn't want to think. He wants you to think for him and lead him. So leaders have vision. So leaders get the best minds, those that have the knowledge, the skills to key into their vision. Okay. So if the president's vision is to make Nigeria a very comfortable place for Nigerians, to increase the number of Nigerian children in school, to make Nigerian education one of the best in the world, if that's his vision, he has experts to key into that vision and achieve it, okay? And many of those experts are more knowledgeable than me in the areas of education, in the areas of jurisprudence, in the areas of economy, okay? So there are many of them. The question is, what is this man's vision? Is it for the public good or for himself, his cronies, his loyalists, families, and friends?
You probably willing to ask him.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I must say a very big thank you to you. Tochukwu Ezekama, thank you, an author and also a social affairs commentator. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Well, that's it on Political Voice. You're welcome. Well, that's it on Political Voice today. I'm Moses Humphrey. Bye for now.